Yeah, yeah. Let's go. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. It's such a great feeling, y'all. How you doing today? I hope you're doing great. Hey, CeeLo, do me a favor. Talk to him. Yeah, you'll get well in due time. Yes, even hold on. Yes, in due time. Yes, 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 yes. We are finally back. I'm sorry, y'all. I hate I did it to you again. Uh we're back though. Encompass Podcast, episode 19, in the building. It is I, your indelible host, Mr. Part of My Rude himself. And man, life has just been an adventure, a journey, a quest, and it's been very amazing over these past few weeks and months. Um, I know I left you all hanging for far too long. I've had people text me, "Hey, what's going on? Why you not recording? Where's the new episode?" I really had nothing for them. But there's a couple things in life that I'm gonna get you caught up on. Okay, first and foremost, I'm good. I'm in a great space mentally, physically. I'm improving. I'm working out, getting this weight off of me. Family's good. Wife and kids are good. And so, my son was playing football. I know I mentioned that to y'all before. And, the team, it definitely sucked. It sucked, but we knew that going into the season. They only had 26 players on the team, or 28 players on the team. I think 16 of those 28 had never played organized football before. Uh, So that presented a challenge in itself. And then the head coach, was a first year head coach. However, salute to those young men. They were able to win one game on the season, and it was the first game or the first win that the school had had in over 3.5 years. And so, that is something to be celebrated. It was the best performing team from a statistical standpoint in the last 5 years. And with that, my son had shown great promise and some substantial skill with playing, being that the last time he had played was when he was 7. So much so to the point that he has decided that he's gonna look to play and pursue football going into his high school years. He's going to try out for the JV team, asking to do workouts and weight training and things of that nature, as well as he shocked me and signed up for wrestling. So we'll be adding another notch on our belt in the sports realm and have that aspect going. And my boy is about to turn 14, y'all. 14 already. It's going by. Now, to my baby girl. She's home for the weekend. It is homecoming season, so they have fall break right before homecoming kicks off for her in college, and she's very excited about that. But I was very excited that she came home for fall break. I miss my baby, but I'm very proud of her. Things are going well at school. She's kicking butt in her academics, which was no question about that. She went into it with high regards in academia, so I had no questions there. But what I'm most proud of is that she's been able to adjust to college life and life being proverb, 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 proverbially, geez, that doggone almost took me out, on her own. But she's found her crew, she's found her friends, and she's joined a club, and making that move um, into that next phase of life. So I am beyond ecstatic in that regard. And just a little more family news. Shout out to my maternal grandmother who recently was consecrated into church motherhood. And so, yeah, she's a church mother now. She's been a member of her church for God knows how long. Um, but yeah, very much so. Happy for her. She was very excited about that. And that may not be the proper way to say that, but oh well. Um, and before I forget, I want to let y'all know that over the past couple of weeks, this week and the week prior, I subbed in on Part in the Politics podcast for my brother Manny, as he's been out with some things that he has going on. I highly recommend that you go check out that podcast. They already do amazing work. But my boy Jeezy and myself was up there cutting up a bit, but it's very informative. I've told you all before that they go more in depth in the political space than I do here. I try to give you um, a taste of what's going on, but they dig a little deeper. And over the past couple of weeks, Jeezy and I have tackled some of the very strong and pertinent things that are going on in politics, that are going on in the U.S. And yeah, go check it out. Even if I wasn't on there, I'm going to recommend my boys. This is a squad, LXI, the conglomerate. Respect my conglomerate. But yeah, check that out. But as we dig into this thing, we got Encompass news, and there's so much that has happened um, since my last recording, and it's mind boggling. But what's most amazing about this segment is there was a period of time where I thought that this part may be too much with the podcast, and how can I cut it or just omit it altogether? But I've consistently had people tell me how much they appreciate me providing the information that I provide during the Encompass News segment, and how there's some things that they wouldn't even have heard about or known about had it not been for the pod. So with that battery in my back, keep the party going. My goal has always been, if I could impact and help at least one, then that's all I need to know to continue on this journey, because this podcast was about helping others and providing some guidance for others. So, hey, for you all who reached out and told me that, or if you hadn't reached out and told me that, but it has been beneficial to you, I thank you, and we're going to keep it going. And so, being that a lot has happened, but also time has passed with this verbal adventure, I'm going to try to touch on some of the highly talked about events. Now, I may miss some because there's been a lot going on, but I'm going to try to catch some of the things that I believe are not only very pertinent, but very impactful on our day-to-day lives. So let's start out with the economy. And it's not. It's been in the tank, and it you don't have to tell me. I know your wallets are talking to you, your accounts are telling you, the grocery store is telling you that the economy is in the tank. Um, the job numbers have been abysmal, to the point where we're continually losing jobs, and losing more jobs than we're gaining. And it's very interesting because that young lady who was fired before by Trump, excuse me, y'all, by Trump, who said that they were manipulating the numbers, and the they were reporting incorrectly, you know, because of Biden. Um, well, his own people are in place now, and the numbers are still trash. So you tell me, is it fake news or fake economic policy? Who knows? And what makes it even more stand out is that it's starting to circulate more and more in the news how farmers are being negatively impacted from an economic standpoint to the point where they are broaching bankruptcy. And these people are having to make the decision of continue the family legacy or have a livelihood and just live and survive. I saw a report that the last dairy farm in Mecklenburg County, which is in North Carolina, which has Charlotte as the county seat, sold their land for neighborhood development. Like, man, this stuff is tough, man. And even to the point that the economy is hurting so much that my boy Big Jerome over at the Federal Reserve finally cut rates by 1/4%. Now I know I've mentioned and spoke on numerous times in numerous podcasts how Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve have been holding with interest rates, trying to see how things are going to play out. But there I'm not gonna say there's no hope, but things are bleak from an economic standpoint. Um, Now, understand that 1/4% on a prime rate cut is not very drastic of a cut, but it's a different turn from where they have been. And several institutions are predicting that we could possibly see two more cuts before the end of the year. Now, what this means for your pocket is that when federal prime rate is lowered, that means the interest rate on lending products gets reduced. So your credit cards, most credit cards have a variable rate interest, meaning fluctuating. So when the prime rate is lowered, your overall credit card interest rate lowers. It lowers mortgage rates. It lowers the rates for auto loans and personal loans and many other lending products. And part of the reason why the Trump administration pushed so much to have rates cut because the lower the interest rate, the less you're paying out on debt. And there's many different business implications into that. This is not an economic podcast, so I'm not going to dig too deep in that. But yes, there are underlying reasons outside of the economy why the Trump administration had been pushing for this rate cut. So as we move away from the economy and get into some more social events, a few weeks ago there were multiple hangings. One was a white man, and I can't remember where he was discovered. But then there was this young man at Delta State University by the name of Trey Reed. He was found hanging from a tree, a black young man. And although authorities state that they suspect no foul play, there have been reports of different bodily injuries to this young man who was found hanging from a tree. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Hanging ourselves is not really the black thing. We were hung against our will many years ago, and quite honestly, it's not the thing. So, shout out to Colin Kaepernick. He has gone in his own pocket to fund an independent autopsy for Trey Reed's family. And I am waiting to see these results so we can get a bit more information in regards to the medical examiner and seeing what injuries were sustained with this young man. I'll hopefully by the time I record again, that information will be available, and I definitely will bring it to you all. Now, the news does not get any better. I'm not laughing for comic relief. I'm actually laughing, or there's a more of a chuckle for the sake of protecting my sanity. because there continues to be mass shootings in our country, and it's just utterly ridiculous and sad. Um, there was a shooting in Michigan at a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter Day Saints, um, which is another attack on people at their place of worship. And this happened by a gentleman who, I'm not trying to cause any political stirring, but the messaging here recently is the left wing radical. Nope, this is not the case. This individual was definitely a Trump supporter. Um, it's just I'm just reporting it from the standpoint of kill the messaging of rhetoric that they're trying to put out there these days. Then there was a shooting in North Carolina, and this one really bothered me because I've done this activity before. I used to live off the coast of North Carolina, and the shooting did not take place in the same town that I lived in, but very similar demographic, very similar um, setup and social scene. So it was an outside restaurant, a restaurant with a pier on the water, outside seating, and people were sitting outside eating. And this gentleman who's a former military serviceman, I want to say he was a Marine, but not 100% sure, end up shooting and killing several individuals. Just, yeah, very sad. You're trying to enjoy some sun, some food, and good company, and it turns tragic and horrific. Um, and then the most popular shooting, and popular simply because of the amount of coverage it receives, the amount of fanfare, and the amount of attention that was driven towards it. Charlie Kirk was shot and killed in Utah on the first leg or the first stop of his college return tour. And for those of you who do not know who Charlie Kirk is, he was a political uh, talking head, I will say. And I knew him before this, most famously from YouTube videos of sitting at a table in the middle of a circle of people and coming up and debating different people on different aspects of politics. And so I'm not going to go into the nature or the conspiracy theories of that's going on surrounding his murder, because that's what it was. It was murder. But I do want to drive the point that really irked me from individuals trying to make a martyr out of Charlie Kirk when martyrdom is the last thing that we need to be even discussing surrounding this man. And the asinine way of people labeling, not labeling, injecting Christianity into this situation, although Charlie Kirk was a very vocal Christian, uh, quite often speaking on his beliefs and religion, and I have no place to put anybody. Um, I'm not God. I'm God-like, but I'm not God. So how he lived his life, his words did not match the teachings that I know of Christ. I'll put it like that. So I'm not condemning or putting him anywhere. I just know his words did not match those teachings. So trying to make a martyr out of him really drove me up a wall. And I had some back and forth with individuals in regards to that. But be careful because they're out here. There are people getting fired for their posts on social media. Um, and so, just be careful. Finally, we have a government shutdown, people. Now, I'm going to save some space here so I can transition to another aspect of nCompass News, and I will speak on the government shutdown in my "What Trump Done Did Now" session, because essentially this is his doing. Um, but as we move forward, talk a little bit about sports. College football and NFL seasons are well on their way to some fantastic starts. Um, there isn't anyone who has been purely dominating uh, so far this season. We have, the tiers of teams. You have yours who look like pure contenders, and then you have those who could be contenders, and then you have the rest. So this may make for a very interesting season and a fantastic playoff for the NFL. College football, very much the same. Nobody has looked head and shoulders above anybody else. So it'll be interesting to see how things play out. And speaking of playoffs, the WNBA season has wind down to the finals. And we got to salute and shout out the Phoenix Mercury, who had made the finals against, I'm going to say improbable odds, but they were not the betting favorites to be in the finals. And they're going against my girls, the Vegas Aces, and my boo, Asia Wilson, who is looking to celebrate another title, just like she did celebrating her fourth MVP, the first woman in the WNBA to have four MVP trophies. And the Aces currently sit at a 2-0 lead against the Phoenix Mercury. If you have not clocked in, this is a fine time to do it. Lock in with it. The NBA is starting to get kicked off with their preseason games. So it's high time right now in the sports world. But as we move on, we are at a segment of what Trump done did now. And I'm gonna do this in reverse. I started to talk about the shutdown first, but I'm not gonna do that first. I'm gonna talk about Donald Trump using the Department of Justice as his own Sick'em Boy group. As former FBI Director James Comey was indicted by a federal grand jury for lying and perjuring himself at a congressional hearing, um, using the DOJ as his personal attack dog against his sworn enemies is not only nasty work, but it's utterly wrong. And so James Comey is the first one who has had this indictment come up against him, but an indictment does not mean any close to any level of guilt. To garner an indictment, generally you only need 12 out of 18 grand jurors, sometimes 15 grand jurors, to come back to agree on the charge. Then the prosecutor is the only one who gets to speak during an indictment hearing. So the burden of proof is nothing like an actual trial. But the funny thing about this is James Comey has come out and, released a video welcoming the challenge. In fact, almost begging for them to take this to trial because he is not scared. He's not backing down. And last reports were that his lawyer had sent forth a motion to have the trial dismissed for the sake of national security. And what that tells me, he got something on Trump. And if it gets out, it's not going to be nice. It's not going to be pretty. And it could be detrimental to the country. So y'all keep playing with that man and he going to show y'all. Just, sometimes it's good to leave well enough alone, is what they say. So we're gonna see how this plays out moving forward, and it's gonna be interesting because there's a lot of implications with this situation if there's more that comes from this indictment. So we'll see. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the government shut down. The government was shut down as of what day was that? one day last week on the 5th. I'm sorry, y'all. I was trying to get the exact date, but so we're multiple days into the shutdown, and it's very interesting because there's several things with the shutdown. First and foremost, the reason the government shuts down is a fiscal plan for the next period of the Lord Jesus. Why did I draw a blank on that? For the next period of funding, of government funding, has not been agreed upon by Congress. And so when they can't agree upon it and there's no resolution, it gets shut down. And so with the shutdown, that means people don't get paid for work. People are furloughed, and what furlough means is essentially a forced leave of absence, kind of like a layoff, but generally, unlike a layoff, you're I was going to say you're almost guaranteed to come back to your job, but the way things are playing out right now, that might not be the case either. But when you're furloughed, um, you're away from the job on a leave of absence, and then you come back, but you're not paid during this time period, and most times you're not able to receive any unemployment benefits. Um, but then there's individuals who still have to work even with the shutdown. And unfortunately, these individuals are U.S. postal workers, air traffic control, military and federal government law enforcement officials, Social Security and Medicare benefit employees, and U.S. passport agencies. They still have to work, but they're not getting paid. Now, you have some things that this shutdown impacts directly where they're closed. And that's national parks and monuments, federal museums, certain federal research projects, and the processing of certain government benefits. But guess who is still being paid in the shutdown? Yeah, you guessed it. Congress and the president. Why are y'all getting paid? It makes no sense. And we're waiting to see if Congress will be called back into session because Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, is trying to avoid calling in Congress into session because if he does, that means he has to swear in the representative from Arizona who he has been intentionally delaying to swear in because as soon as she gets sworn in, she is the 218th signature needed to force the release of the Epstein files. So 218, we get Epstein. What is in there that is keeping you away from allowing this woman who was voted in by her people of Arizona getting into place, sign this paperwork, and let this information out? Tell me what's in there. So the reason the Democrats have put up a fight and has been giving pushback on agreeing to a budget is because they want certain subsidies and certain provisions to be put in place and stricken from the big, beautiful bill that will allow for healthcare subsidies for Medicare, Medicaid, and ACA. With the big, beautiful bill, there are a lot of federal benefits that are going to be cut or reduced drastically. SNAP, Medicare, Medicaid, a lot of people are subject to to lose coverage. And the good brother, Reverend Raphael Warnock, released a video showing that a family of four last year, not a couple years ago, but last year was paying well over $500 a month for healthcare coverage on the lowest end. Crazy and insane to me overall, but $500. The same family, same coverage this year, once those subsidies are removed, would be paying almost $2,200 a month for insurance coverage. Not a mortgage, not some land and, have a builder's contract or a builder's loan to build a home on this land. This is for health insurance. And you have to pay this every month, hospital or not. And that's insane that you have to choose between healthcare and living. So we don't know how long this is going to go on. The longest shutdown in U.S. history was under the Trump administration back in 2019. Lasted 34 days. And I saw a report that said that if this shutdown goes 5 more days, that Trump will officially have half of all government shutdowns ever. Under his watch, under his administration, more than half, or at least half of the number of days of government shutdowns fall under his administration, which is insane, people. That's insane. All right. So we're going to move away from this government shutdown. We're going to see how long it takes. I predicted that it would take until the week of the 24th. Trump nor the Republicans can afford for this to go on too long. I know the Trump administration had some rumors come out that they may be providing some economic relief to farmers. Well, guess what? You got to have Congress, who is in charge of budgetary means for the country, which means they have to go in session, which means the lady from Arizona has to be sworn in. So somebody's going to have to, as my boy Jeezy say, bend the knee. I believe what's going to happen is Trump is going to try to take something that the Democrats may have proposed or come up with before and erase their name off of it and put his name on it and try to get some credit for it. But yeah, this is a tough time in our country. It's a tough time in our economy. But I want you to keep your head up, man. Keep your head up. Be strong. Be encouraged. Be of good cheer. If you are of Christian faith, know that the Lord has you. The scripture saying, "Take no thought for tomorrow," because He already knows what you're in need of. He already has plans for you. You just keep your head up, be strong, and keep walking in good cheer and good faith. If you don't believe in it, just know that good things happen for those who are strong. So continue to be strong, continue to be pushing. When you push, you have more control. A little gem for you. But as we continue on, we're going to get to my favorite part of the podcast, where we have not done this in a while. It's our top segment. And with our top segment, you know what that entails, right? I'm sure you do. Let's go. Hey, on top of, we going where? Yeah, on top of the world. Ah, la. Top of the world. Yes, it is our top segment. On top of the world. In this top segment, you know, I want to talk to you about something that often gets a bad rap. My good friend, competition. Yeah, we've all heard how it can make people ruthless, nasty, vile, or toxic. But what I'm here to tell you is that competition, when done right, can actually be one of the most powerful forces for personal growth that you could ever come in contact with. Now, hear me out. I grew up in an era where there wasn't merely just participation trophies. And quite honestly, it drove me crazy when my son started to get in sports and everybody got a trophy, everybody got a ribbon, everybody got a medal. No. For me, I remember field day. And on field day, we had red, white, and blue ribbons. They represented first, second, and third place. Blue was first, red was second, white was third. But today, everybody must be made to feel special. Even if they were barely an active participant, you got to give them something so they don't feel left out. In my era, and I sound like one of those old men back in my day, but it was a wonderful thing to want to win. And this competition caused growth, because if you did not win, guess what? You knew that opportunity would come back around. And if you put in the work, you could win. Now think about this. some of our greatest achievements as human beings have come from the desire to be better than what we were before, where we came from, or be better than our peers. Competition pushed us to innovation. It pushed us to learn. It pushed us to stretch beyond our comfort zones. And when you see someone else doing amazing work, it can like not it can, it should light a fire in you, not to try to beat them necessarily, but to see what you're capable of. They're over there doing amazing things. I believe in myself, and let me see just how amazing I can be when I use this passion and desire to drive forward. So when you think about competition, it can not only just drive growth, but it can teach us how to handle pressure. When not in golf, but when you're involved in competition, um, when you have a growth mindset, you learn how to bounce back from losses and keep going. You don't sit there and dwell in it. I think I've mentioned this before, and I often say it to my kids. You can dig a hole over, and when you stuck in the same spot over and over and just doing it over, and woe be unto me. Now you're digging a hole instead of standing in your moment, standing in your space, having your moment, and then moving forward. So I realize we do not always win. And to me, yes, winning is the point. But it's also realistic to understand that even if I don't win, I could have not lost, because it's not about if you won, it's about what you've done after you lost as well. Because think about this. In sports, they often say the ugly things of a team or the ugly things of sports get covered up with winning. It only gets exposed when you start losing. So, how are you addressing these things? Are you learning how to take your L in stride, sit back, reflect, and then come back stronger to see if it built character for you? How do you react when you lose? Do you see it as failure, or do you see it as an opportunity to provide feedback to get better and improve? Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a terrible loser. I hate losing more than I love winning, but I'm also an analytical person. So when I lose, I immediately start breaking down where things went wrong so I can improve upon them. And honestly, most of the time, I already knew and can pinpoint where the shortcomings have come out and play how they play out. And I'm immediately in my head, all right, how can I do this to improve and get better? Because I'm pushing myself. And then also, believe it or not, when competition is rooted in respect, it can create a community for you. You start to see your competition and your competitors not as enemies, but as partners in a growth journey. A great rival can become one of your greatest teachers. You sit there, you break down their strong points, and you analyze where you're weak. And it can be a high level of mutual respect. You know, that good saying, game recognized game. That's what that is about. I see what you're doing. I salute you. I don't envy you. I don't ridicule you, but I salute you in what you're doing. And you know what? I need to turn my game up. I got to match that greatness. So understand this is where you can build community, collaboration with others who could be the quote unquote competitors with you in a certain space. Now, when you're operating in the healthy space of competition, this can also help you define your why. Now, hear me out. When you're up against others, you start to ask deeper questions of yourself. Now, like I said, this is a healthy space. So you're wondering, why am I doing this? Whatever it is that you're doing, why am I doing this? But when it's a healthy space, you can not be focused on the recognition of why you're doing a task. You don't need the recognition, but you're focused on your contribution. How am I contributing to something that is positive from what I'm doing? It could be within life, it could be within the workforce, it could be within your family. Your mindset is, what is my contribution in what I'm doing, and how is it a positive aspect and impact? And then you also get to analyze what matters to you. And you're not focused on comparison fueled thoughts. You're not sitting here worried about what little Johnny has or Sister Martha got. No, there's no need to compare yourself with anyone else. But what you're doing is looking at it and see, how can I grow from this situation? Where are my areas of opportunity? What are those, and I'm getting in my work bag, those KPIs, those key performing indicators? What is it that you're doing to become better? Now, this also takes you to a question of, what do I stand for? Now, when you ask this question, you're not driven by fear, you're driven by passion. Because most times when you're driven by fear, it's taking you in that complete opposite direction of where you need to go. But passion allows you to take on challenges head on. It helps you to separate your ego driven goals from your authentic purpose. You're at a place where you're not fragile to criticism and short term validation, but you're open to growth and long term fulfillment in life. That's what we're here for. Now, ultimately, the healthiest form of competition is within, being better than you were yesterday. That's what it truly boils down to. Your only true rival is the version of yourself that you allow to settle, that you allow to be doubtful, and that you allow to be hesitant. That's the true rival. But when you focus and stay in your lane and be willing to cheer others on in their lane, you're going to win no matter what. One of my favorite rappers had a line that said, how can you bowl 300 by being in someone else's lane? And that's a paraphrase, so I can keep it clean on here. But think about that. You can't bowl 300 if you're in my lane. Simple as that. So, what are you going to do? Tell me. Are you going to stay focused on you and be your own competition to be the improved, better version of yourself? And then when you are in competition with others, it's not so much, I got to beat them, but are they driving you to be better? And here's the twist. The best kind of competition, it doesn't divide, it inspires. And when you are competing properly, it helps bring out the best in you. And then you also end up collaborating with those that you are quote unquote competing against. So the next time you have that competitive spark, don't shut it down. Fan the flame, nurture it, and ask yourself, can this energy make me better? Can it help me grow? Because when you use it with the proper intention, competition isn't about beating others. It's about becoming your best self. So I want to say this to you. If this episode inspired you, if any episode has ever inspired you, I implore you, share it with a friend who looks to grow just like you. This is what we're about. Now make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the pod on all the socials. nCompassPod on TikTok. I need to do better about posting on there. On Instagram, Twitter, all the things. I thank you for being on this journey with me. Again, I apologize for letting it be so long. I'm working on it, y'all. I'm finding my space. I'm finding my groove. I'm going to keep riding and rising to the top. So with that, I thank you. Be blessed. And as always, remember, if nobody loves you, Jesus loves you. and Tupac does too.